The town did not announce itself. There was no sign that said something important happened here. No tall buildings, no loud streets, no reason for strangers to stop and look around. It was just a town. Small, quiet, ordinary. The kind of town people forget as soon as they pass it. A single main road ran through the center, stretching from one end to the other. On both sides of the road were buildings that looked almost the same. Small grocery stores, a gas station, a diner with faded red seats, and a post office that closed early every evening. At night, the road stayed mostly empty. Street lights stood at equal distances, glowing softly, not too bright, not too dark. Their light touched the pavement gently, as if even the lamps did not want to disturb the silence. People here slept early. They woke up early. They followed routines that never changed. That was the beauty of the town, and also its danger. Because when nothing ever changes, no one is prepared for the moment when something finally does. The morning routine. Every morning began the same way. At 6 a.m., the bakery opened its doors. The smell of fresh bread slowly filled the air, drifting down the quiet street. The baker, an old man named Thomas, had been doing the same job for more than 30 years. His hands moved without thinking. Knead, fold, wait, bake. At 6:30 a.m., the first coffee machine turned on at the diner. The sound was soft, familiar, comforting. Anna, the waitress, wiped the counter with slow movements. She had memorized every crack on its surface. At 7 a.m., cars began to appear. Not many, just enough. People drove to work, some waved, some nodded. Words were not always necessary here. No one hurried. There was no reason to. Daniel Harper. Daniel Harper lived in a small house near the edge of town. It was not new, it was not old, it was simply there. The house had white walls, a wooden porch, and a single light bulb above the front door that Daniel often forgot to turn off. Inside, everything was neatly arranged, not because Daniel was obsessed with order, but because he disliked chaos. Daniel was 38 years old. He worked as an accountant in a nearby city, driving 40 minutes every morning and 40 minutes back every evening. He liked the drive. It gave him time to think, or sometimes not think at all. Daniel was not married. He did not have children. He did not have many close friends, but he was not lonely. At least, that is what people assumed. He smiled when spoken to. He paid his bills on time. He never caused trouble. In this town, that was enough. An ordinary day. The day everything began looked exactly like every other day. Daniel woke up at 6:15 a.m. He showered, he shaved, he put on a clean shirt. He made coffee, drank it slowly, and checked the time twice even though he knew he was not late. At 7:10 a.m., he locked the front door and walked to his car. A neighbor saw him leave. Nothing unusual. Daniel drove to work. He sat at his desk. He reviewed numbers, corrected small mistakes, and answered emails that didn't matter much. He ate lunch alone at his desk, scrolling through his phone without interest. At 5:30 p.m., he left the office. He started the drive back home. The road was quiet. The sky was clear. The radio played softly. Nothing suggested that this day would be remembered. Evening in the town. By the time Daniel returned to town, the sun was already low. Golden light touched the houses. Shadows stretched across the road. The diner was busier than usual, but still calm. A few people sat inside, talking slowly, laughing quietly. Daniel stopped at the grocery store. The clerk nodded at him. Daniel nodded back. He bought bread, milk, and something small for dinner. The receipt printed. The bag crinkled. Everything followed its usual pattern. Outside, the streetlights began to turn on, one by one, softly. Daniel walked to his car. That was the last confirmed moment anyone saw him. Night falls. Night arrived without drama. The town did not change much when darkness came. The same streets, the same buildings, just fewer people. Lights turned off in houses, curtains were pulled, doors were locked, not because people were afraid, but because that was what they did. At Daniel's house, the porch light remained on. No one noticed. At 9 p.m., a neighbor walked past the house. The light was still on. That was not unusual. Daniel sometimes forgot. At 10:30 p.m., the town became almost completely silent. No cars, no voices, only the occasional sound of wind moving through trees. At midnight, the porch light was still on. No one questioned it. The first absence. The next morning, Daniel did not show up for work. At first, no one worried. Daniel was rarely late, but it could happen. Traffic, an alarm not ringing, a sick day. By noon, his manager tried calling him. No answer. By 3 p.m., another call. Still no answer. That was unusual. By evening, concern began to form, not loudly, but quietly, the kind of concern that sits in the back of the mind and waits. At the diner, someone mentioned Daniel had not come in for coffee that morning. At the grocery store, the clerk remembered selling him bread the night before. Small details, normal details, but when put together, they created a shape that didn't feel right. The empty house. A neighbor decided to check on him. The porch light was still on. The front door was locked. Inside, everything looked normal. Too normal. Daniel's jacket was hanging where he always kept it. His shoes were neatly placed near the door. His phone charger was plugged in. Empty. The bed had not been slept in. The house felt paused, as if someone had pressed a button and stopped time. The neighbor called the police. There were no sirens, no flashing lights, just a single patrol car pulling up quietly in front of the house. Officer Michael Reed stepped out. He was calm. He always was. Michael had worked in this town for over 10 years. He knew most people by name. He knew which kids skipped school, which neighbors argued quietly, and which houses stayed dark for weeks because their owners traveled often. He walked into Daniel's house slowly. He looked around. Nothing broken, nothing missing, no signs of a struggle. Michael wrote notes. He asked questions. He listened. And when he left the house, he felt something he had not felt in a long time. Uncertainty. A town that waits. News traveled slowly here, but it traveled. By the next day, most people knew Daniel Harper was missing. They spoke about it in low voices, at the diner, at the gas station, on the sidewalk. No one panicked. They waited, because in this town, things always returned to normal. Until
the town
they
did not react the way cities do. There were no news vans, no reporters, no urgent phone alerts. Only silence, and questions that people asked quietly, as if speaking too loudly might make things worse. Daniel Harper was missing. Not late, not unavailable. Missing. The first day without answers. The first official day of Daniel's disappearance began slowly. Officer Michael Reed arrived at the police station early. He made coffee, sat at his desk, and opened Daniel's file. It was thin, too thin. Name, age, address, occupation. Nothing stood out. Michael disliked cases like this, not because they were dangerous, but because they were empty. Empty cases had space for too many possibilities. He called Daniel's workplace again. No one had heard from him. He called Daniel's phone, straight to voicemail. No missed calls, no messages, just silence. Routine investigation. Michael followed procedure. He spoke to neighbors again, this time more carefully. Did you notice anything unusual? Anyone unfamiliar? Any sounds at night? Most answers were the same. No, nothing. I don't think so. One neighbor mentioned a car passing late at night, but cars passed all the time on the main road. Another remembered a light in Daniel's house staying on longer than usual. Small things, the kind of things people only remember after something goes wrong. Inside Daniel's life. Michael requested access to Daniel's digital records. Emails, bank activity, phone usage. Everything looked normal. Bills paid on time, no sudden withdrawals, no threatening messages. Daniel did not argue with anyone online. He did not complain. He did not ask for help. It was as if Daniel existed quietly and then stopped. The diner conversations. At the diner, people talked. They always did. But now their voices were softer. Anna poured coffee and listened. She seemed normal, someone said. He always was, another replied. You think he left? A third asked. Anna didn't say much. She remembered Daniel clearly. He used to sit by the window sometimes, staring outside without really looking at anything. She remembered how he paused before leaving, just for a second. At the time, it meant nothing. Now it felt heavier. Officer Reed's doubt. Michael sat in his patrol car near Daniel's house that evening. The porch light was off now. Someone had turned it off. That detail bothered him more than it should have. Who turned it off? A neighbor, the police, or someone else? He checked his notes. No record of anyone switching it off. Michael made another note. The search began. On the second day, the search expanded. Not dramatically, just enough. Volunteers walked along nearby roads. They checked wooded areas, empty fields, and paths Daniel might have taken if he decided to walk. They found nothing. No wallet, no phone, no sign of struggle. Just dirt, grass, and quiet air. A town watches itself. People began locking their doors at night, not because they were told to, but because fear does not always announce itself. It enters slowly. It settles. Parents watched their children more closely. Neighbors paid attention to unfamiliar cars. Every sound at night felt louder than before. Still, no one said the word crime out loud. Not yet. The grocery store memory. On the third day, Michael returned to the grocery store. The clerk hesitated before speaking. There was something, he said finally. What kind of something? Michael asked. The night Daniel was here, he wasn't alone. Michael looked up. Explain. There was another man, not with him, just nearby, standing close. Did they talk? No, but the man watched him. What did he look like? The clerk shook his head. Average, that's all I remember. Average. Michael wrote it down anyway. The camera footage. The grocery store had cameras, old ones. The footage was grainy, slow, and incomplete. Michael watched it carefully. Daniel entered the store. He walked down the aisles. He paid. He left. Behind him, near the door, stood another man, still, waiting. The man's face was unclear, but his posture was not. Waiting. Time passes differently now. By the fourth day, time felt different in the town. Longer, heavier. People checked their phones more often. Nights felt colder. Silence felt louder. Michael returned to Daniel's house again. He stood in the living room. Everything was still in its place, but something felt wrong. Not broken, just incomplete. A missed detail. Michael noticed something small. Daniel's keys were not on the table. They were not in his car either, which meant Daniel left his house willingly, or someone took the keys. Neither option felt comforting. The neighbor's shadow. Another neighbor came forward. She lived across the street. I saw a shadow, she said quietly. When? Late, very late. What kind of shadow? A person, near Daniel's porch. Did you see his face? No, just movement. Michael asked why she hadn't mentioned it earlier. She wasn't sure it mattered. It mattered now. The town's first fear. That night, the town did not sleep well. Lights stayed on longer. Dogs barked more. People listened. Nothing happened, but fear does not need action to grow. Officer Reed reflects. Michael sat alone in his office after midnight. He reviewed every detail: Daniel's routine, the grocery store, the unknown man, the shadow. Nothing connected cleanly, but absence itself became evidence. People do not simply disappear, not without a reason. The case changes shape. On the 5th day, Michael updated the case status from missing person to suspicious disappearance. The words felt heavy. Once written, they could not be erased. A town holds its breath. The town waited, not loudly, not publicly. They waited in their homes, in their thoughts, in the quiet moments before sleep, because everyone now understood something they had never faced before. This town was not invisible, and silence did not mean safety.
The investigation did not move forward. It slowed. Not because there was no effort, but because there was too much silence. Silence does not point in any direction. It does not accuse. It does not confess. It simply exists. And the town was full of it. A different kind of pressure. Officer Michael Reed felt pressure for the first time in years, not from his superiors, not from the public, but from time itself. Every day that passed without answers made the case heavier. Missing people could still return, but the longer they stayed missing, the more fragile hope became. Michael understood this. That is why he stopped rushing. Rushing leads to mistakes. Mistakes destroy quiet cases. This case demanded patience. Re-interviewing familiar faces. Michael began again, not with new people, with the same ones. He visited the neighbors once more, this time not asking questions directly. Instead, he listened. People speak differently when they believe the conversation is over. A woman mentioned Daniel rarely invited anyone over. A man recalled Daniel arguing on the phone weeks ago, but could not remember with whom. Someone else remembered seeing Daniel park his car slightly crooked one evening. Small fragments, not evidence, but patterns begin as fragments. Daniel's workplace revisited. Michael drove to the city. Daniel's office was modern, clean, and efficient. Too efficient to hide secrets easily. He spoke with coworkers. Daniel was quiet, reliable, unremarkable. He kept to himself, one colleague said. He was good with numbers, another added. No enemies, a third shrugged. Michael asked about stress, deadlines, conflicts, money problems. Nothing serious emerged. Daniel had savings, no debts, no sudden expenses. He was not running. That much was clear. The long drive home. Michael drove back to town slowly. The same road Daniel had driven every day. He paid attention to things he had ignored before. The curve near the forest, the narrow shoulder, the absence of streetlights. If something happened here, no one would have seen it. Michael pulled over. He stepped out of his car. The air was still. This place felt untouched. That bothered him. A pause in progress. Days passed. No calls, no discoveries, no mistakes made by a criminal. The case stalled. But stalled does not mean dead. It means waiting. But Kath works backwards from Daniel. The abandoned house reconsidered. Michael returned to the abandoned house at the edge of town. It had already been checked, but not carefully enough. He walked through each room again. Dust, broken furniture, silence. Nothing suggested recent activity until he noticed footprints. Old, but not too old. Someone had been here, not recently, but not long ago either. Michael marked the location. He did not jump to conclusions, but he did not forget it. The town adjusts. Life continued because it had to. Children went to school. Shops opened. Bills were paid. But people changed. They watched each other, not suspiciously, carefully. Trust had not disappeared. It had thinned. Anna's memory returns. At the diner, Anna stood behind the counter late one evening. The place was almost empty. She wiped the same spot twice. A memory returned without warning. Daniel had been there a week before he disappeared. He was not eating. He was waiting. She remembered that now. Waiting for what? Or whom? She hadn't asked. She wished she had. A name without a face. Michael reviewed the grocery store footage again. The unknown man. Average height, average build, average clothing. People who look average disappear easily. Michael asked other stores if they had seen the man. No one was sure, but one gas station clerk hesitated. There was someone. Bought nothing, just stood. Michael's pen stopped. Which night? The same night, the one everyone talks about. Patterns without meaning. Michael pinned photographs on the board. Daniel, the grocery store, the road, the abandoned house. Lines connected them, but the picture remained incomplete. Sometimes investigations do not reveal answers, they reveal questions. The first official meeting. The town council called a meeting, not to panic, to reassure. They spoke about safety, about cooperation, about patience. Michael stood at the back of the room. He watched faces. Some were afraid, some were angry, some were pretending not to care. Pretending takes effort. Michael's private thought. Late that night, Michael sat alone again. He thought about Daniel, not as a case, as a person. A man who followed routines, who did not take risks, who did not disappear by choice. Someone else had interrupted his routine, someone who knew the town's silence well enough to use it. The weight of waiting. Waiting became the investigation. Every phone call mattered. Every shadow mattered. Every memory returned too late mattered. Michael did not push. He allowed time to work, because criminals who act quietly often make quiet mistakes. They grow comfortable, and comfort creates patterns. A new direction forms. On the 10th day, Michael received a report. Not dramatic, just unusual. A car had been seen near the abandoned house again, late at night, lights off, engine running. The same place, the same silence. Michael closed the file slowly. The investigation was not moving fast, but it was moving, and sometimes slow movement is harder to escape than speed. The town holds its breath again. The town felt it. No one said anything, but something was shifting. The silence was no longer empty. It was waiting.
Suspicion does not arrive loudly. It does not knock on the door. It does not announce itself. It slips in quietly, like a shadow stretching longer at the end of the day. And in the town, shadows were everywhere now. A change in the air. The town still looked the same. The same road, the same buildings, the same faces. But something underneath had shifted. People paused before speaking. They listened more than they talked. They noticed who walked alone and who did not. Nothing was said openly, but everyone was thinking the same thing. Someone here knows something. Officer Reed watches differently. Michael changed the way he worked. He stopped asking direct questions. Instead, he watched. He sat in his patrol car near the diner for hours. He parked across the grocery store. He drove slowly through streets he knew too well. Familiar places hide secrets better than unfamiliar ones. Michael understood that now. The man at the gas station. Late one evening, Michael visited the gas station again. The clerk recognized him. "You came before," the clerk said. "Yes," Michael replied. "I need you to remember." The clerk looked uncomfortable. "There was a man," he said slowly. "He didn't buy anything, just stood near the pumps." "What time?" Michael asked. "Late, after 10. Did you see his car?" The clerk nodded. "Dark, sedan, old." Michael wrote it down.
Old cars do not attract attention. That is why people use them. Familiar faces feel strange. Michael reviewed names, neighbors, shop owners, regular customers. He knew them all. That made this harder. Suspicion feels different when it points toward people you trust. The mechanic at the edge of town. There was a mechanic on the edge of town, quiet, efficient, private. His name was Robert Lane. Michael remembered him because Daniel used to service his car there. Michael visited the shop. Robert was working alone. The sound of metal echoed softly. "Evening," Michael said. Robert looked up calmly. "Officer." Michael asked routine questions. "How's business? Anything unusual lately?" Robert answered politely, too politely. Michael noticed something else. An old sedan parked behind the shop. Dark-colored, dusty. Michael made a mental note. A pause that lasts too long. When Michael asked about Daniel, Robert paused, just a second too long. "I serviced his car a few weeks ago," Robert said. "Nothing wrong with it." Michael nodded. He did not accuse. Accusations scare truth away. The diner after closing. That same night, Michael stopped by the diner after closing. Anna was cleaning. The chairs were upside down. The lights were dim. Michael sat quietly. "Daniel came here often," he said. Anna nodded. "He waited," Michael added. Anna stopped wiping. "Yes," she said slowly. "I remember that now." "Did he wait for anyone specific?" Anna shook her head. "He left alone." "But he waited," Michael repeated. "Yes. Waiting is an action." Michael wrote it down. The shadow gains shape. Over the next few days, Michael noticed patterns. The old sedan appeared in different places, near the grocery store, near the abandoned house, once near Daniel Street. Always late, always quiet. No plates remembered, no driver identified. But it existed. That was enough. The town feels it too. People began to whisper names. Not loudly, just enough. Could it be, "I always thought he was strange. He never talks much." Suspicion spreads easily. Truth does not. Michael worked carefully. Wrong suspicion destroys innocent lives. Robert Lane's routine. Michael learned Robert's routine. He opened the shop early. He closed late. He lived alone. No family nearby. No close friends. Routine creates comfort. Comfort creates mistakes. A small discovery. Michael revisited the abandoned house again. This time he brought a flashlight. In the back room, behind broken furniture, he found something new. A cigarette butt. Fresh. Someone had been there recently. Michael did not touch it. He photographed it. The shadow was becoming solid. The night watch. Michael decided to wait. He parked near the abandoned house, engine off, lights off. Hours passed. The night deepened. Then headlights appeared. An old sedan, dark, slow. It stopped near the house. The engine stayed running. Michael did not move. The driver stayed inside, waiting. After a few minutes, the car left. Michael followed at a distance. The car drove towards town, towards the mechanic's shop. Not enough for an arrest. Michael had no proof, no crime scene, no body, no confession, only patterns. Patterns are fragile, but they grow. A quiet warning. Michael visited Robert again, not as an officer, as a familiar face. "Long nights," Michael said casually. Robert nodded. "Town feels different," Michael added. Robert said nothing. Silence speaks loudly. The weight of knowing. Michael left the shop. He was careful not to reveal his thoughts, because once suspicion is known, behavior changes. and Michael needed behavior to stay natural. The town holds its breath. That night, the town slept lightly. Dogs barked once. A door closed softly. A car passed slowly. Nothing happened, but something was very close. A line is crossed. The investigation had crossed a line, from absence to suspicion, from silence to shadows. Michael knew the next step would change everything. Once taken, there would be no turning back. End of waiting. Michael returned home near dawn. He did not sleep. He reviewed everything again. Daniel's routines, the waiting, the car, the mechanic. The picture was not complete, but it was forming, and soon the town's silence would break, not loudly,
The
but
abandoned
permanently.
house did not look important. It never had. That was the reason it worked so well. It stood at the edge of town where the road narrowed and trees leaned closer, as if trying to hide it. The paint on the walls had faded into a color that could no longer be named. The windows were broken, but not completely, just enough to let air in, just enough to let sound out. No one lived there. Everyone knew that. And because everyone knew it, no one paid attention. Returning to the place everyone ignored. Officer Michael Reed returned to the house just before sunset. He parked far enough away that his car could not be seen from the road. He walked the rest of the distance slowly, listening to the ground beneath his boots. Gravel, dry leaves, silence. The house did not react to his presence. It never did. Michael circled the building first, the way he always did now. He checked the windows, the back door, the space behind the trees. Everything looked the same as before, except it didn't feel the same. Something about the air was different. He paused, then stepped inside. Inside the silence. The smell hit him first. Old wood, dust, something faint underneath. Not strong enough to identify, just present. The floor creaked under his weight. Michael moved carefully, placing his feet where others had stepped before. He followed the old footprints he had marked days ago. They led toward the back rooms. Rooms people forgot existed. Michael stopped. He listened. Nothing. Then he continued. The back room was small. No windows. Only one door. The walls were stained. The floor was uneven. Someone had dragged furniture here once, long ago, then left it to rot. Michael shined his flashlight across the floor. There, a darker patch. Not blood, something else. He knelt down. The patch was newer than the rest of the stains. Someone had cleaned here, recently. People clean places for reasons. Michael stood up slowly. This room mattered. Evidence that whispers. Michael photographed everything. The floor, the walls, the cigarette butt. He did not rush. Rushing destroys details. He noticed scratches on the doorframe. Fingernails. Not deep, but desperate. Michael swallowed. Daniel had been here. He was sure of it now. The house at night. Michael left the house before dark. He did not want anyone to see him. Instead, he returned later, much later. He parked his car again, farther away this time. He turned off the engine, turned off the lights, and waited. Waiting had become his most useful tool. The night deepened. Crickets filled the air. Time slowed. Then, headlights. The same old sedan. Michael's heart rate did not change. He had expected this. The car stopped near the house. The engine stayed running. The driver did not get out. Minutes passed. Then the driver stepped out. Robert Lane, the mechanic. Michael watched. Robert moved slowly, confidently. He unlocked the back door of the house. Unlocked. Michael closed his eyes for a second, then opened them again. This was no longer suspicion. The locked door. Michael did not move, not yet. Robert entered the house. The door closed. The engine of the sedan kept running. Michael counted seconds. 30.
60, 90. He did not follow, not alone. Instead, he quietly called for backup. He whispered, "This is Officer Reed. I need assistance at the abandoned house, now." He ended the call and waited. What silence hides? Inside the house, a light turned on briefly, then off. Michael watched the windows. Nothing. Silence again. This kind of silence was heavy. It pressed down. Michael remembered Daniel's empty bed, the unanswered phone. This was where the routine ended. Backup arrives. 2 patrol cars arrived quietly. No sirens, no lights. Officers stepped out carefully. Michael briefed them quickly. They surrounded the house. Robert had not come out yet. Michael nodded. They moved, entering the truth. The door opened with a soft sound. Michael entered first. The smell was stronger now, not unpleasant, just final. They moved through the room slowly. Back room. The door was closed. Michael pushed it open. Robert stood inside. He did not turn around. On the floor, a tarp. Under it, a shape. Human. Robert sighed. Not loudly, just enough to hear. He knew this would happen, he said. Michael did not respond. The confession without drama. Robert raised his hands. "I didn't plan it," he said quietly. "I didn't want it." Michael listened. Daniel had discovered something. An old accident. A mistake Robert made years ago. Something buried. Daniel had numbers, records, proof. Daniel came to talk. They met here to keep things quiet. It stayed quiet, too quiet. One push, one fall, one mistake. Silence finished the rest. Daniel Harper lay still, wrapped carefully, not hidden, just delayed. Michael closed his eyes. The town's missing piece was here. Aftermath without noise. Robert did not resist. The handcuffs clicked softly. The tarp stayed where it was. The officers worked slowly, respectfully. No one spoke much. Words felt unnecessary. The town learns by morning. Not dramatically, just enough. People felt relief, and something else. Guilt, because the answer was close the whole time. The abandoned house loses its power. By afternoon, the house was empty again, but not forgotten. It no longer hid anything. Silence left it. Michael stands alone. Michael returned one last time. He stood at the door. He thought about routines, about waiting, about how quiet crimes survive in quiet places. Then he turned away. The town changes forever. People locked their doors now, not out of fear, but out of awareness. Silence was no longer innocent. Closing the case. Michael closed the file, not with satisfaction, but with acceptance. Some stories end softly. This was one of them.
The night silent town lost its power, no one panicked. That itself was strange. Streetlights went dark one by one. Houses disappeared into shadow. Phones stopped working. Only the old clock near the courthouse kept ticking. Detective Aaron Cole sat inside his car, engine off, window half open. The silence felt planned, controlled. This was not an accident. For weeks, Aaron had felt it. The town was no longer reacting to crimes. It was preparing. A new death, same silence. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the emergency radio crackled. No panic, no shouting, just a calm voice. "There's a body near Miller's storage yard." That was all. When Aaron arrived, there were already officers there. Too many, too early. The body lay beside a locked warehouse. No blood, no struggle. Just a man in his late 50s, eyes open, expression calm, as if he had accepted it. Aaron checked the ID. Thomas Reed, former city planning officer, retired 15 years ago. One of the men who approved the factory expansion
2 months before the fire. Something was missing. Aaron searched the area carefully. No weapon, no footprints, but something was missing. No police tape. That was protocol, always, yet someone had skipped it. Who secured the perimeter? Aaron asked. No one answered. They avoided his eyes. Back at the station, Aaron opened an old archive cabinet, the kind no one touched anymore. Inside was a thin folder. No official stamp, no digital record, just a handwritten label, Gray/Associates. His breath slowed. This wasn't just about Elliot Gray. It never was. The second name. The folder listed 6 names. Only one was crossed out, Elliot Gray. The others were unfamiliar, people who never appeared in news, never charged, never questioned. They were shadows. One name stood out, Daniel Morse, still alive, living 2 towns away. The warning call. As Aaron was leaving the station, his phone buzzed. Private number. A distorted voice spoke. You're not supposed to read that file. Click. The call ended. Aaron didn't feel fear. He felt confirmation. The town next door. Daniel Morse lived in a place almost identical to Silent Town. Same road layout, same aging buildings, same quiet. Aaron parked a block away and walked. The house lights were on. Someone was inside. Before he could knock, the door opened. Daniel Morse was older than expected, thin, hands shaking. You came too late, he said softly. Inside the house, walls were covered with maps, lines drawn between towns, dates circled. Daniel spoke slowly. The fire wasn't the first, and it wasn't the last, he said. He explained everything. There were 5 towns, 5 incidents, different names, same pattern. Industrial accidents, closed cases, insurance money, same group approving permits, same people silencing witnesses. The network. They called themselves nothing. That was the point. They were city officials, inspectors, developers, not criminals, respectable people. Elliot Gray was only one worker who survived. Daniel was another. But unlike Elliot, Daniel talked too much. That's when the threats began. The hidden rule. Daniel leaned forward. They don't kill directly, he whispered. They apply pressure. Jobs lost, families targeted, medical records exposed, until people break or disappear. The sound outside. A car door slammed outside. Daniel froze. They found me, he said. Aaron moved to the window. 2 cars, no plates. Men standing calmly, not rushing, not hiding. Professionals. Escape was never planned. Daniel handed Aaron a USB drive. Everything is there, he said. Names, payments, dates. Before Aaron could respond, Daniel walked toward the door. You still have a choice, he said, without turning back. The door opened. A single sound echoed. Then silence. Aftermath. The men were gone when Aaron stepped outside. Daniel lay on the floor. No visible wound. Heart failure. Official cause would say natural. Aaron knew better. The station betrayal. When Aaron returned to Silent Town, his desk was empty. Badge gone. Computer wiped. A suspension notice waited. No signature. No explanation. Only one sentence. You're digging where you don't belong. That night, Aaron found a note on his windshield. Burnt edges. No fingerprints. Just 5 words. You finally see it now. Aaron didn't smile, because he understood something terrifying.
Elliot Gray wasn't hunting the town. He was forcing it to collapse.
Aaron Cole left Silent Town before sunrise, not because he wanted to run, but because staying meant disappearing. The suspension notice on his desk was clear enough. Someone inside the system had turned against him, and whoever they were, they moved faster than he expected. As his car crossed the town limit, Aaron looked at the rearview mirror. Silent Town still looked calm, peaceful. That was the most dangerous part. The USB that changed everything. The USB drive Daniel Morse had given him felt heavier than it should, not because of its size, but because of what it carried. Names, transactions, dates, and something else. A pattern that didn't belong to one town. Aaron stopped at an empty roadside diner, the kind that never closed, yet never felt alive. He plugged the USB into his laptop. The first file opened automatically. A video. Low quality, shaky. A man spoke directly into the camera. It was Elliot Gray. Elliot's first message. "If you're watching this," Elliot said calmly, "then Daniel is probably dead." Aaron froze. Elliot continued. "They don't kill the way people expect. They erase, slowly." The video cut. Another file opened. A map. 5 towns were marked in red. Silent Town was only one of them. Town number 2. The second town was called Riverside Point. Industrial, quiet, forgotten by most people. Aaron drove there without hesitation. As he entered Riverside Point, something felt familiar. The same road curves, the same type of old factories, and the same silence. The fire that never made the news. Riverside Point had its own incident, 10 years ago. A chemical storage fire. Official report, equipment failure. Casualties, 3 workers. No arrests, no lawsuit. Insurance paid. Case closed. Too clean. Aaron visited the local library. Old newspapers still existed there. Buried on page 6, he found a headline. Witness claims fire was preventable. The witness name was blacked out. The second death. That night, the fire siren screamed again. Not from a factory, from a house. By the time Aaron arrived, flames were already dying. Firefighters stood silently. Inside the house, a body was found, not burned. A man in his 40s, dead before the fire started. Heart failure, just like Daniel Morse. The victim's name, Samuel Price, former safety inspector. Approved the chemical storage permits. Too many coincidences. Aaron didn't need confirmation anymore. This wasn't revenge, it was exposure. Someone was triggering events that forced the truth closer to the surface, but someone else was cleaning up. Fast, efficient, invisible. The call from the past. At 3:12 a.m., Aaron's phone rang. This time, the number was visible. Federal code. He hesitated, then answered. "Detective Cole, my name is Agent Laura Finch. We need to talk." The federal interest. They met in an empty parking structure. Agent Finch was calm, sharp eyes, no wasted words. "We've been tracking financial anomalies across multiple states, shell companies, insurance fraud, permit approvals." She paused. "Your towns keep appearing." Aaron handed her the USB. She didn't look surprised. "We know about Elliot Gray, but he's not our primary concern." Aaron frowned. "Then who is?" She replied without hesitation. "The people protecting him." The organization without a name. Agent Finch explained what the federal system had seen. a network of officials, not criminals by definition, but manipulators. They didn't order murders, they engineered silence. If someone talked, their life collapsed. If someone pushed harder, they disappeared. Not violently, legally. Elliot's role. Elliot Gray is a catalyst, Finch said. He creates pressure. They respond. And people die, Aaron said. Yes, Finch replied, but never in a way that leads back to them. Another message. That same night, Aaron received another message, not a call, a voice note. Elliot's voice again. They're closer than you think, and farther than you fear. A pause. You trust the wrong badge. Betrayal confirmed. The next morning, Aaron's photo appeared on local news. Headline: Suspended detective linked to ongoing investigations. They were setting him up, publicly, slowly. Agent Finch noticed it too. They're pushing you into the open, she said. They want you isolated. Running while watching. Aaron moved constantly. Motels, back roads. Each town he passed felt the same. Too quiet, too prepared, like they were all following the same script. The burned warehouse. On the edge of Riverside Point stood an old warehouse, abandoned, boarded up. It matched one of the map markings from the USB. Inside, Aaron found something unexpected. Audio tapes. Dozens of them, labeled by year. Each tape contained recordings, meetings, voices, town officials discussing permits, discussing risks, discussing how to handle workers. The second burn. As Aaron stepped outside, smoke filled the air. The warehouse was on fire. Again. Fire trucks arrived too fast, too organized. Someone wanted those tapes gone, but they were already copied. Elliot disappears again. Agent Finch tried to locate Elliot. Nothing. No digital trace, no physical presence, as if he never existed. Aaron finally understood. Elliot wasn't hiding, he was moving ahead, always one step before collapse. The choice gets smaller. Agent Finch warned him, if you stay visible, you won't survive. Aaron asked quietly, and if I disappear? She asked. She looked at him. Then the truth
Aaron
might.
Cole stopped trusting silence, because silence was never empty anymore. It was full of decisions made without him. He stayed the night inside his car, parked behind an abandoned grocery store on the edge of Riverside Point. No lights, no engine, just listening. At 4:40 a.m., his phone vibrated once. A message. No number. They're using your name. Aaron didn't reply. He already knew. The setup begins. By sunrise, the news had changed its tone. Not just suspended detective. Now it was former officer of interest. No charges, no details, just implication. Aaron watched the clip from his phone. A familiar face stood behind the reporter. Captain Robert Hale, his former supervisor. The man who taught him how to write reports, how to keep calm at crime scenes, how to trust the system. Hale looked serious, concerned, and completely prepared. Agent Finch's warning. Agent Finch met Aaron inside an underground parking lot, 2 levels below the street. This is escalating. They're not hiding anymore. Aaron showed her the broadcast. She exhaled slowly. Hale isn't just a local captain, she said. He sits on a regional advisory board. Aaron's jaw tightened. So he's protected. Yes, Finch replied. And now, so is the lie. A name from the tapes. They listened to the audio tapes recovered from the warehouse.
hours of meetings, casual voices discussing dangerous decisions. One voice appeared again and again, calm, confident. Captain Robert Hale. He never ordered harm, he only suggested outcomes. "If we delay inspection, the risk lowers," Hale said in one recording. "If we redirect attention, the issue resolves itself. No threats, no crimes, just guidance." The inside man wasn't one man. Finch revealed something else. "There are at least 3 officers feeding information to the network," she said. "Different towns, same pattern." Aaron asked the obvious question, "Do they know about Elliot?" Finch shook her head. "No, and that scares them." Elliot's silence. For the first time in days, Elliot said nothing. No messages, no recordings. Aaron felt it immediately. Silence from Elliot meant movement. The false evidence. That afternoon, police searched an abandoned motel room, room 214. Aaron watched the footage later. Inside the room, officers discovered burnt documents, a phone with deleted messages, and a badge. His badge. Aaron stared at the screen. He had never been there. Finch paused the video. "They planted it," she said, "but carefully. Not sloppy, not rushed. Designed to look inevitable." Public opinion turns. Social media followed quickly. Old photos of Aaron resurfaced. Out-of-context quotes. Speculation. Not accusations, suggestions. Why was he always first on scene? Why did he leave town? Why is he connected to multiple fires? The network didn't destroy reputations. They guided conclusions. The choice to disappear. Finch was honest. If they issue a warrant, federal protection won't be enough. You'll become a liability. Aaron nodded. "I already am." She handed him a burner phone. "No calls unless necessary," she said. "No digital trail." Aaron asked quietly, "And the truth?" Finch met his eyes. "That depends on how long you stay free." A familiar place. Aaron drove back toward Silent Town. Not inside it, around it. There was a place no one monitored anymore. The old water treatment facility. Closed years ago after budget cuts. He had trained there once. No cameras, no patrols. Perfect. Elliot's return. At 11:11 p.m., the burner phone buzzed. A message. Voice message. "Elliot." "You're playing defense now," Elliot said calmly. "That means they've shown their hand." A pause. "You're not the target," Elliot continued. "You're the distraction." Aaron listened again. Distraction from what? The real move. Finch called minutes later. 2 towns, same night, she said. Sudden resignations. Files destroyed. The network was shrinking its surface, preparing to vanish. Understanding the game. Aaron finally understood. Elliot wasn't exposing them one by one. He was forcing them to react. Every reaction left a mark. Every cover-up created evidence. But only if someone was watching. Aaron wasn't the hero. He was the witness. The quiet decision. Inside the dark facility, Aaron set up his laptop. Copied files. Backups. Offline drives. He recorded a single message. Not to the public. Not to the police. To time. "If this reaches anyone," he said, "then the system failed before the truth did."
The arrest happened at noon. Not at night, not in silence. In front of cameras. That was deliberate. Aaron Cole watched the live broadcast from the dark corner of the old water treatment facility.
Rain tapped softly against broken glass. The reporter's voice was confident. "Authorities have taken a major step forward," she said. "A suspect connected to multiple incidents across Silent Town and Riverside Point has been taken into custody." The camera turned. Aaron's breath slowed. The man in handcuffs was not Elliot Gray. It was Daniel Cross. The wrong man. Daniel Cross was a name buried deep in the USB files. A junior permit clerk, low level, replaceable. Someone who signed papers but never decided outcomes. A scapegoat. Aaron knew it immediately. Agent Finch called seconds later. "They needed an ending," she said. Public pressure was rising. Aaron replied calmly, "But this ends nothing." "No," Finch agreed. "It resets the narrative." The confession that was too clean. Within hours, Daniel Cross confessed. No lawyer, no hesitation. He admitted to falsifying permits, to hiding safety reports, to accepting bribes. But there was something missing. No mention of pressure, no mention of higher authority. He claimed he acted alone. Aaron listened to the recording twice. Daniel's voice was flat, not scared, not emotional, resigned. Captain Hale's performance. That evening, Captain Robert Hale stood before the press. "The system works," he said. "We found the rot and removed it." Applause followed. Aaron felt something cold settle inside him. Hale wasn't relieved. He was satisfied. Elliot's third message. At 2:17 a.m., Aaron's burner phone vibrated. A familiar voice returned. "They always sacrifice the smallest piece. Daniel Cross was never meant to survive the story." Aaron asked quietly, "Then why him?" Elliot paused. "Because he knows how to disappear." The vanishing prisoner. 2 days later, Daniel Cross was transferred. Official reason, facility overload. Transport route, confidential. The prison van never arrived. No crash, no witnesses. Just an empty stretch of road and a missing man. Authorities labeled it an escape. Aaron labeled it something else. Extraction. The federal wall. Agent Finch tried to escalate. Her superiors denied additional resources, denied warrants, denied jurisdiction. Too many signatures required, too many familiar names. Finch said quietly, "They're closing ranks." The files that survived. Aaron reviewed the backups again. One detail kept repeating. Financial approvals from a single consulting group. Not government, private. They operated quietly. Across states. Across decades. Name, Northwell Advisory. On paper, they provided risk assessment. In reality, they shaped decisions. Factories, chemical plants, housing projects. And when something went wrong, they vanished. Elliot was never alone. Aaron finally understood Elliot's role. He wasn't the architect. He was a trigger. Someone who survived. Someone who remembered. Northwell Advisory didn't fear Elliot. They feared memory. A death without fire. That same night, another man died. No fire, no collapse. A heart attack in a hotel room. The name, Mark Ellison. Senior partner, Northwell Advisory. The death was ruled natural. Aaron noticed the time. 2:17 a.m. The pattern tightened. Ellison wasn't connected to Silent Town publicly, but his signatures were everywhere. Every permit, every override. Always invisible, always final. Finch crossed a line. Finch made a choice. She leaked a partial file. Not enough to expose everything. Enough to attract attention. A journalist contacted her within hours. Independent, unpredictable, dangerous. Finch warned Aaron, "If this goes public, they'll accelerate." Aaron replied, "Then let them." The network reacted. Two things happened simultaneously. Northwell Advisory announced restructuring. 3 partners resigned. And Captain Hale took sudden medical leave. No explanation, no timeline. Aaron didn't believe in coincidences anymore. Elliot's last known move. Elliot sent one final message. "No more warnings," he said. "The board meets in 4 days." Aaron frowned. "What board?" Elliot didn't answer. Understanding the endgame. Aaron sat alone in the dark. He finally saw the shape of the war. This wasn't about towns or fires or even corruption. It was about control without fingerprints. And someone was about to be exposed. Not arrested, exposed.
Aaron Cole became a criminal at 6:42 a.m. He didn't know it yet. He was standing inside an abandoned rail warehouse, watching dust float through thin beams of morning light when Agent Finch's encrypted call came through. "Your name just went live," she said. Aaron closed his eyes. "How bad?" Finch exhaled slowly. "Federal bulletin. Obstruction. Theft of classified material. Suspected involvement in multiple deaths." Aaron smiled without humor. "They built a monster." "They needed one," Finch replied. "Someone to blame before the board meets." Within minutes, Aaron's face appeared everywhere. Screens, phones, news tickers. The headline was clean. "Former investigator turns rogue." No mention of why. No mention of Silent Town. Just danger. Just fear. Aaron destroyed his burner phone and swapped clothes. Old habits from a life he thought he had left behind. Aaron Finch breaks protocol. Agent Finch was already in trouble. She accessed a sealed server without authorization. Inside, it was a single folder. No department logo, no classification stamp, just a word. The board. Inside were 7 names. No titles, no addresses, only patterns. Every major industrial disaster, every suppressed investigation, at least one name appeared. Always. The board was not a myth. Aaron met Finch in an underground parking structure. No cameras, no signals. She slid a tablet across the hood of an old car. "They're not a company," she said. "They're a voting body." Aaron scrolled. "They don't give orders," he realized. "They approve outcomes." Finch nodded. "Disasters, arrests, cover-ups, even deaths." Aaron stopped. One name stood out. Robert Hale. Captain Hale. Not a member, an executor. Hale's real role. Hale never planned anything. He implemented decisions. When the board voted silence, he enforced it. When they voted removal, he arranged it. And now, "They voted you," Finch said quietly. Aaron looked up. "They decided I exist." The journalist made contact. At noon, the journalist Finch had warned about reached out. Name: Maya Rourke. Independent, blacklisted, still alive. Her message was short. "I know about Northwell. I know about the fires. And I know you didn't do this." She included coordinates. Aaron hesitated, then went anyway. Maya's proof. Maya didn't waste time. She showed Aaron raw financial flows, shell companies, consultants, private risk mitigation funds. Every disaster made someone richer. Insurance spikes, land buyouts, reconstruction contracts. "This isn't corruption," she said. "It's investment." Aaron finally understood. Silent Town wasn't a failure. It was profitable. Elliot enters the frame. Maya pulled up an audio file. Distorted, old. Elliot's voice. "He testified once, years ago. Against them," Maya said. Aaron froze. "He disappeared after," she continued. "Declared unstable, unreliable." "But he lived," Aaron whispered. "Yes," Maya said. "And they've been chasing him ever since." The board meeting. The board didn't meet in buildings. They met online, encrypted, distributed. Finch intercepted the time. 4 hours from now. Agenda: final containment. Aaron was the containment. Hale makes his move. Captain Hale wasn't sick. He was active. A task force moved into the warehouse district. Unofficial,
unmarked. Orders were simple: bring Aaron in or end it. Elliot's Gambit. At 3:13 p.m., Elliot sent a live stream link. Untraceable. One chance, he said. They vote in 60 minutes. Aaron saw the interface. 7 silhouettes. Voice modulated. The board. Elliot had hacked the room. Not to speak, to broadcast. To everyone, Elliot said. Not just them. Exposure, not arrest. Aaron uploaded everything. Files, permits, deaths, money trails. Maya mirrored it. Finch leaked it internally. For 6 minutes, the board tried to shut it down. They failed. Too many copies, too many witnesses. The board collapsed. The board attempted an emergency shutdown. One member disconnected, then another. Fear replaced control. For the first time, they were visible, and visibility was fatal. Hale's end. Captain Hale arrived too late. By the time he reached the warehouse, the story was global. He looked at Aaron through the windshield. Not angry, empty. He lowered his weapon. It was never personal, Hale said. Aaron replied calmly, it never is. Hale was arrested an hour later, not for Silent Town, for everything else. The aftershock. 3 board members vanished within days. 1 died, 2 resigned publicly. Northwell Advisory collapsed overnight. Assets frozen. Investigations reopened. But Aaron knew better. This wasn't the end. Elliot disappears again. Elliot sent one final message. You broke the silence, he said. That was the point. Where are you going? Aaron asked. Somewhere memory is still dangerous. The line went dead.
Truth did not bring peace. It brought retaliation. The morning after exposure. The world woke up louder. News channels replayed the leak on loop. Experts argued. Politicians denied. Corporations issued statements written by lawyers who hadn't slept. Aaron Cole watched it all from a borrowed apartment with the curtains closed. Every headline said exposed. None said resolved. That worried him. Finch is removed. Agent Finch was escorted out of her building before noon. No handcuffs, no charges, just a quiet revocation of access. Her badge stopped working. Her email vanished. Her career ended in less than 5 minutes. A man she didn't recognize handed her a folder. Inside was a single page. Administrative leave, indefinite. At the bottom, a handwritten note. Stop now. This is mercy. Maya goes dark. Maya Rourke didn't answer her phone. That alone was alarming. She never missed a check-in. Aaron tried her burner. Dead. Her email bounced back. Aaron felt the shift, the moment when exposure turns into cleanup. The first accident. That afternoon, a former Northwell executive died in a car crash. Brake failure. At night, a financial auditor suffered a fatal stroke. Healthy, 46, no warning. By morning, the pattern was obvious. This was not revenge. This was containment. A new name surfaces. Finch met Aaron in a crowded train station. Public spaces were safer now. They're consolidating, she said, cutting loose anyone who could talk. She slid him a folded document. At the top, Archway Consortium, older than Northwell, larger, invisible. This is who the board reported to, Finch said. They don't vote. They authorize, Aaron replied. The rules change. Archway didn't erase information. They flooded it. Fake documents, conflicting narratives, manufactured experts. The truth didn't disappear. It drowned. Aaron realized the mistake. Exposure wasn't enough. People needed clarity, and clarity was dangerous. Maya's message.
At 2:17 a.m., Aaron's phone buzzed. One message, one location, one word. Alive. The safe house. Maya looked thinner, tired, but focused. They tried to kill the story, she said, so I changed the story. She had been recording everything. Threats, bribes, warnings. I let them think I was scared, she smiled. They always underestimate fear. The kill order. Maya showed Aaron a file intercepted from a private contractor. No names, just roles. Target A, journalist. Target B, former agent. Target C, facilitator. Aaron was C. They're not hiding anymore, Maya said. They're scheduling. Finch's confession. Finch sat on the floor, back against the wall. I helped them once, she said quietly. Aaron froze. Years ago, early career, I ignored something, signed off, told myself it was above my pay grade. She looked up. They don't forget favors. Aaron understood. That's why they let you live, he said. For now. Archway speaks. For the first time, Archway contacted Aaron directly. No threat, no demand, an invitation, a voice message. We admire disruption, the man said calmly, but chaos must end. A pause. Walk away, disappear, and this stops. The cost of walking away. Aaron played the message twice, then deleted it because he knew the truth. Walking away didn't stop systems, it fed them. The second wave. That night, Finch's apartment was searched. Nothing taken, just rearranged. A message. Maya's car was followed. Twice. Aaron's old address was burned down. Empty. Symbolic. Elliot's shadow. A familiar phrase appeared on a private forum, one Aaron never thought he'd see again. Memory is still dangerous. Elliot wasn't gone. He was watching, waiting. The decision. They met in silence, 3 people against something ancient. Maya broke it. We stop reacting. We force them to move. Finch nodded. They survive by staying abstract. Aaron finished it. So we make them human. The plan begins. Not exposure, not leaks. Extraction. Names, faces, histories. Archway didn't fear truth. They feared accountability.
This was supposed to be the end. That's what everyone believed. And belief was exactly what made it dangerous. The world starts to calm. 3 weeks after the Archway leaks, the noise softened. News cycles moved on. Markets stabilized. Politicians stopped talking. The word scandal became incident. And then, case closed. Aaron Cole watched the announcement in silence. Archway Consortium, officially dissolved. Assets seized. 3 executives arrested. The anchor smiled. Justice, she said. The public victory. Maya Rourke became a symbol. Awards, panels, interviews. They called her brave, fearless, unstoppable. She smiled the right way, answered the right questions. Finch was quietly reinstated. Not publicly, but effectively. Her access returned. Her past mistakes erased. For the first time in months, she slept. Aaron feels nothing. That scared him. Victories usually came with relief. This one felt hollow, too clean, too fast. Systems didn't collapse like that. They adapted. Elliot confirmed the end. Elliot contacted Aaron directly. Video call, clear signal. No more shadows, Elliot said. They burned their own records. You're sure? Aaron asked. Elliot nodded. They let it go. They had to. Aaron believed him. That was the mistake. The celebration. They met one last time. A small apartment. No phones, no recording. Just 3 people who survived something impossible. Maya poured wine. To truth, she said. Finch smiled. To consequences. Aaron raised his glass last. To the end. Later that night, Finch stayed behind. Habit. She checked one server, an old one, barely used. A file appeared automatically. No sender, no timestamp. Just the title. Final Audit. Confidential. She hesitated, then opened it. The truth beneath the ending. Archway wasn't dissolved. It was restructured. New name, new shell. Same people. The arrests, expendables, sacrifices. A controlled burn. The audit revealed something worse. This wasn't damage control. It was planned. They allowed exposure. They needed a reset. The betrayal revealed. Finch scrolled. Her blood ran cold. One name appeared repeatedly. Authorization codes, meeting access, emergency overrides. Maya Rourke. Finch can't breathe. It didn't make sense. Maya had risked everything, nearly died, destroyed her career. But the timestamps didn't lie. Maya had been in contact with Archway before the first leak, not as an enemy, as an asset. Maya's real role. Maya wasn't silencing truth. She was curating it, choosing what survived, choosing who fell. She didn't expose Archway. She cleaned it. The final call. Finch called Aaron, hands shaking. "Don't trust her," she whispered. "She was never on our side." Aaron didn't answer because he was already listening to Maya's voice. Behind him, calm, controlled. "You weren't supposed to see that file," Maya said. The fake ending cracked. Aaron turned slowly. Maya smiled. Not cruel, professional. "You wanted accountability," she said. "I gave it to you." "You sold us," Aaron replied. "No," Maya corrected. "I saved the system." The system always wins. Maya explained it simply. Chaos scared markets. Truth scared governments. But managed truth, that stabilized power. They needed a villain and a hero. She looked at Aaron. "You were neither." Elliot was wrong, or lying. Aaron realized too late. Elliot had disappeared because he had already been neutralized, not killed, converted. Finch's choice. Finch had seconds. She could expose Maya or stop her. She chose wrong. She hesitated, and hesitation is a decision. The shot no one hears. Silenced. Clean. Aaron fell before he felt it. Maya knelt beside Aaron. "People will remember you," she said softly, "as someone who almost mattered." The official ending. The next morning, the headline was simple. Key figure dies in tragic accident. The story closed. Perfectly. But something was wrong. A single audio file appeared online, 12 seconds long. Aaron's voice, recorded earlier. "If this is out, the ending you saw was fake."
Death was supposed to be simple. A moment, a line, an ending. But Aaron Cole's death refused to behave. The official record. The report was clean. Cause of death, internal bleeding. Time, 11:42 p.m. Location, private residence. No witnesses, no investigation. The body was cremated within 24 hours. Too fast. Too final. Finch doesn't believe it. Finch stared at the death certificate until the words lost meaning. She had seen Aaron shot. She had heard the silence afterward. But she also knew something else. Maya never rushed. And this was rushed. The missing detail. The report listed a coroner, a real name,
A real license. Except Finch had worked with him before. He never signed digital forms, ever. Yet this one was electronic. That was the crack. The city forgets. Public memory moved on. Another scandal, another casualty. Aaron Cole became a footnote, which is exactly how systems bury problems. The audio returns. 3 days after the cremation, another file appeared online. No platform, no account, just sound. Aaron's breathing, slow, measured. Then his voice. "If you're hearing this, they needed you to believe I was dead." Finch freezes. Her phone slipped from her hand. She replayed it. Again. Again. The cadence was wrong. Not wounded, not dying, controlled. Maya tightens the net. Maya went silent publicly. No interviews, no statements. Behind the scenes, she was busy. Finch's bank access froze. Her lease was canceled. Her name appeared on an internal watch list. Not arrest, containment. The hunter becomes the hunted. Finch changed cities in one night. No luggage, no trace. She knew the signs. Someone wanted her alive. That was worse. Elliot's return. The message arrived on a dead channel. Text only. "You saw it too." Finch didn't reply. Another message followed. They didn't kill him. Then they moved him. The facility that doesn't exist. Elliot sent coordinates. Nothing marked, no records. Satellite blur. "They call it a recovery site," Elliot said in an encrypted voice call, "for assets that break but don't disappear." "You're sure he's there?" Finch asked. "I watched him arrive," Elliot replied. And I watched them change him. What change means. Not torture, not brainwashing. Reprogramming. Isolation, sensory control, narrative replacement. They didn't want Aaron dead. They wanted him useful. Maya's past cracked open. Finch found an old archive. Juvenile records. Sealed. Maya Rourke wasn't her first name. She was taken at 14, placed in a mentorship initiative, funded by Archway. She wasn't recruited. She was raised. The system's best weapon. Maya believed in the system because it was the only thing that had ever protected her. Truth was irrelevant. Stability was everything. And Aaron? Aaron was unstable truth. The third audio. Another file surfaced, this one longer. "They're teaching me to forget, but forgetting hurts more than dying." Silence. Then, "If Finch is listening, don't come." Finch can't stop now. She packed again. Different route, different face. Because warnings weren't protection. They were proof. Maya makes her final move. Maya stood in front of a private council. No cameras, no records. She spoke calmly. "The leak phase is over. The narrative is stable." A pause. One loose variable remains. The council nodded. That variable was Finch. The choice approaches. Finch had one option: expose everything, or reach Aaron first. Both would end her. She chose the one that might save him. The last line. As Finch crossed the border, one final message arrived. From Aaron, or something using his voice. "You were right not to trust her." Static. "But you should never trust me either." The man who came back wrong. They didn't erase Aaron Cole. They edited him. The facility door opens. The place had no name, just white. No clocks, no windows, no sound that belonged to the outside world. Aaron stood barefoot on a cold floor, staring at a one-way mirror. Behind it, someone was watching. Always. Elliot finally appears. Not on a screen, in person. Older, thinner, eyes hollowed by something worse than fear. "You shouldn't have come here," Elliot said. Aaron smiled faintly. "They brought me," he replied. "You stayed." Elliot flinched. That was the first sign. What they did to Aaron. No pain, no screaming. Instead, repetition. Questions asked in different orders. Memories played back wrong. They didn't tell Aaron new lies. They let him discover them himself. "Truth breaks people," the voice had said. "We're just removing the sharp edges." Finch reached the edge. Finch watched the facility from a distance. She saw the guards rotate. She saw Elliot enter. She didn't see Aaron leave. That terrified her, because extraction meant one thing. They were done shaping him. At dawn, a car exited the compound. Aaron sat in the back seat, clean clothes, calm breathing. Too calm. When Finch finally saw him hours later, she almost cried. Almost. Because his eyes didn't search the room, they assessed it. The first wrong thing. "You're late," Aaron said. Finch froze. He used to apologize. Elliot's confession. Elliot broke first. "They showed me versions," he whispered. "Worlds where this worked. Worlds where it didn't." "What did you choose?" Finch asked. Elliot didn't answer. He didn't have to. Aaron spoke clearly. "They're not evil," Aaron said quietly. "They're efficient." Finch stepped back. "That's not you." Aaron tilted his head. "It is now." Maya loses control. Briefly. Maya received an unexpected report. Asset A-17 had exited containment without full authorization. That asset was Aaron. For the first time in years, Maya swore. Systems hate variables. The second audio message. A new audio file surfaced online. Aaron's voice. Calm. Measured. "You wanted the truth. This is what it costs." People didn't know what to feel. Fear replaced sympathy. That was the point. Finch realized the trap. "They didn't break you," Finch said. "They turned you into a message." Aaron nodded. "Yes." A pause. And messages spread faster than people. That night, Elliot tried to leave. He didn't make it past the stairs. They said it was suicide. Finch knew better. Aaron said nothing. That silence was louder than any scream. Before disappearing again, Aaron left Finch one sentence. "Don't save me," he said. "Stop
How
me."
the system raises its children. People aren't born into systems. They are shaped into them. Maya was never rescued. Maya Rourke was 13 when the fire happened. Officially, it was an accident, an electrical fault in a foster home. 3 children died. 1 survived. Maya. She remembered the smoke, the heat, and the man who carried her out. He wore no uniform, just a calm voice. "You're safe now," he said. "We'll take care of you." They always say that. The program had no name. Maya was placed somewhere clean, too clean. Private tutors, therapists, advisors. They never asked what she felt. They asked what she understood. When bad things happen, one man explained, someone must decide who carries the cost. They taught her balance,
Markets, public panic, stability curves. By 16, Maya could explain why 10 deaths were sometimes preferable to 10,000. She cried once. They noted it. She never did again. The first test. At 19, Maya was given a story. A minor corruption case, evidence already prepared. Her job was simple: release it. She hesitated. 2 days later, someone died. A whistleblower. Natural causes. Her handler didn't deny it. "Now you see," he said gently. "Delay is a decision." Maya published the story. She learned the rule. Back to the present. Maya watched Aaron from a distance. Monitors, reports, behavioral analysis. He was progressing faster than expected. That unsettled her. Because Aaron wasn't compliant, he was convinced. That was worse. They met alone. No guards, no glass. "Do you know why they chose you?" Aaron asked. Maya didn't answer. "Because you don't believe in good. You believe in function." Maya smiled faintly. "And you don't?" "I used to, until I saw the cost of stopping." Finch breaks inside. Finch listened to an old recording, Elliot's voice, cracking. "I thought if I helped shape the truth, it would hurt less." Finch shut it off. She finally understood. None of them were innocent. Some were just earlier. The sacrifice nobody sees. A small report appeared online, buried. A community displaced, a chemical leak degraded. No fatalities officially. Maya signed off on it. Aaron reviewed it, approved. Finch saw it last, and this time, she couldn't stay quiet. Finch acts alone. She leaked a single document, not explosive, not viral, personal. Names, addresses, families, people who had voted, people who had signed. She didn't expose the system, she exposed the humans inside it. The consequence is immediate. One of them panicked, another fled. One tried to negotiate. The system doesn't forgive fear. That night, a heart attack made the news. Maya stared at the screen. "This wasn't agreed." Aaron replied calmly. "You said stability matters." Maya realized the problem. Aaron wasn't becoming part of the system. He was replacing its conscience, and conscience is dangerous. Aaron's confession. He sent Finch a private message. "I don't want forgiveness. I want accuracy." A pause. "If people must suffer, let it be for the right reason." Finch felt sick because the logic worked. Maya finally feels fear. For the first time in her life, Maya was unsure, not of the system, of Aaron. She had helped create something that didn't need her.
The price of being right. Every system demands proof, and proof always costs someone. The warning nobody heeds. Aaron saw it first, a pattern forming again. Small reports, minor downgrades, language softened. A disaster being prepared quietly. This time, it wasn't an explosion. It was a water supply, contaminated slowly, legally, within limits, until limits shifted. The city that didn't know it. 200,000 people drank from it. No alarms, no panic, just headaches, rashes, confusion. Aaron ran the numbers. If exposed now, panic, riots, collapse. If delayed, illness, lawsuits, silence. Maya already knew the answer. Contain. Finch refused. No. Finch said. She stood alone in a dark apartment, files projected on the wall. Not again. Not like this. Aaron didn't argue. That frightened her more than anger. The choice is made without her. At midnight, an authorization passed. Emergency override. Signed digitally. Finch's old credentials. Forged perfectly. She watched it happen in real time. Someone wanted her blamed. Or broken. The sacrifice. The system needed a release valve. One story, one person. A plant supervisor. Low level, replaceable. He was arrested before sunrise, charged with negligence. He cried on camera, apologized, promised cooperation. The city relaxed. The system stabilized. Finch breaks. That man didn't do this, Finch said. Aaron looked at her. I know. Silence. She has a daughter, she whispered. I checked. She'll get compensation. Finch slapped him. Hard. He didn't react. Maya watched it happen. Maya observed from her office. Two people she had shaped now moving in opposite directions. One driven by conscience. One driven by logic sharpened too far. This was the moment she feared. The death that changes everything. The supervisor didn't make it through the night. They said suicide. No note, no warning. Finch screamed. Not loudly. Internally. Something inside her collapsed. Aaron knew it was over. He listened to the report. Nodded once. This is what accuracy costs, he said quietly. But his voice wasn't steady. For the first time, it cracked. Finch makes her decision. She didn't call Maya. She didn't warn Aaron. She opened everything. Not a leak, a flood. Raw files, unedited logs, internal arguments, including Aaron's approvals, including Maya's signatures, including her own failures. The world reacts. This time, there was no control, no narrative, just chaos. Protests, resignations, markets plunging. The system shook, not because of truth, because of confusion. Maya loses someone. A handler called. Short, urgent. Step away, he said. This is no longer containable. Maya realized something terrifying. They weren't protecting her. They were distancing themselves. She had become expendable. Aaron confronts Finch. You destroyed stability, Aaron said. Finch looked exhausted. I saved my soul. You killed thousands in panic. I stopped choosing for them. They stared at each other. No answer was clean. The final blow. A sniper shot rang out from across the street. One sound, one body fell. Maya, dead before she hit the floor. No explanation, no message, just removal. Silence after impact. Aaron dropped to his knees, not in grief, in realization. They don't need her, he whispered. And Finch understood. And they don't need you, she
What
said.
survives after the system kills? Maya Work's death did not stop anything. It optimized it. The aftermath nobody controls. Within hours, the narrative corrected itself. The sniper? A lone extremist. The leaks? Foreign interference. The protests? Temporary instability. Markets rebounded faster than expected. That was the most terrifying part. The system didn't bleed. It adapted. Finch became a ghost. Finch no longer existed officially. No records, no warrants, just whispers. She moved through bus stations and borrowed rooms, listening to the world she helped fracture. People argued. Some thanked her. Others cursed her name. Both were wrong. Aaron watched Maya's funeral from a distance. Private, controlled, empty. No speeches, no legacy, just efficiency. That's when he understood. Maya wasn't punished. She was replaced. The message in the noise. Aaron replayed old audio files. Static, pauses, breathing. Patterns emerged. Elliot's voice was there, hidden, layered under white noise. A message meant only for him. If Maya falls, look above the board. Above the board. Aaron followed the money again. Not shell companies, not foundations, something quieter. Endowments, university grants, policy fellowships, ideas. The system didn't rule governments, it trained them. The name that never signed anything. It appeared once, then again. Never on approvals, never on votes, just attendance. The Meridian Group. Not a company, a forum. They didn't decide outcomes, they shaped assumptions. Finch learned the cost of truth. Finch reached out to an old contact, someone she trusted once. He agreed to meet, then didn't show up. Later that night, his obituary appeared. Natural causes, 62. Finch stopped trusting silence. Aaron crossed the final line. Aaron uploaded something new. Not files, a theory, a map. How power flowed, who trained whom. It wasn't proof, it was explanation. And explanation is contagious. The world pushed back. The upload didn't go viral. Platforms didn't block it, they buried it. Search results shifted. Recommendations vanished. Truth didn't disappear, it became inconvenient. Finch found the hidden archive. In an abandoned office, Finch discovered a server, old, forgotten. Inside were recordings, decades old. Men discussing acceptable futures. No crime, just philosophy. That was worse. Aaron finally broke. Aaron listened to the recordings alone, for hours, then days. At some point he stopped speaking. When Finch found him, he looked hollow. "They're not monsters," he said. "They're gardeners." She didn't reply. She couldn't. The choice returned. Elliot's final message played automatically. "If you keep going," he said, "you'll become them. If you stop, they'll continue forever." Aaron laughed, a sound with no joy in it. The legacy question. Finch asked the question no one wanted to answer. What happens when you're gone? Aaron didn't hesitate. Someone else listens. The last preparation. Aaron began recording again. Not evidence, lessons, warnings, mistakes. He wasn't building a case, he was building a virus.
The people who never needed names. No one ruled the world. That was the first lie people believed. The truth was quieter. The world was trained. The Meridian Principle. Aaron never found a headquarters. No buildings, no guards, no encrypted meetings. Just papers. Academic journals, policy drafts, ethics panels. The Meridian Group didn't operate in shadows. They operated in daylight. Invisible because no one thought to look there. How power really moves. Meridian didn't tell governments what to do. They told them what was reasonable. What was acceptable loss? What was manageable outrage? What could be delayed? Once those ideas took root, decisions made themselves. Finch understands too late. Finch listened to one of the recordings. A calm voice, old, patient. The public does not need truth, only continuity. There was no malice in the tone, just certainty. Finch felt something worse than fear. Recognition. Aaron's final architecture. Aaron wasn't leaking anymore. He was seeding. Fragments of thought, contradictions, questions with no answers. He spread them slowly. Too slow to trend, too deep to forget. He wasn't attacking Meridian. He was infecting certainty. The system responds gently. No threats came. No assassins. No warnings. That was the response. Silence meant they were thinking, and Meridian always thought longer than anyone else. The man who spoke once. Aaron received a call. Not encrypted, not hidden, clear. I won't give you my name. It would disappoint you. Aaron didn't speak. You think we're evil, the voice continued. We're maintenance. A pause. Chaos kills faster than control. Aaron's question. How many did you let die? Aaron asked. The man answered immediately. Enough. Finch's breaking point. Finch realized something horrifying. Meridian didn't fear Aaron. They were curious. He wasn't a threat. He was a prototype. Someone who understood too much. Someone they might need later. The offer that isn't an offer. Aaron received a document. No signature, no letterhead. Just one sentence. Join us and choose which truths survive. No deadline, because time favored them. Sleep begins to change. People listening to Aaron's recordings reported strange effects. Restlessness, dreams of conversations, a sense of being watched, not by someone, but by ideas. Sleep wasn't disturbed. It was occupied. Finch tries one last time. This never ends. You'll become a layer of it. Aaron nodded. I already am. He wasn't angry. He wasn't proud. He was tired. The decision without drama. Aaron didn't accept the offer. He didn't reject it either. He did something worse. He archived it. He let it exist. Unresolved. Meridian hated unresolved things. The quiet countermove. Weeks passed. Nothing happened. Then one small policy changed. A word removed. A definition softened. Finch saw it instantly. Aaron smiled faintly. They noticed, he said. The truth about winning. You can't beat them, Finch whispered. Aaron replied. You don't beat gravity. You learn how to fall
The
differently.
arrest happened at dawn. Sirens cut through the fog, red and blue lights washing over Hollow Creek like a false sunrise. People gathered behind police tape, whispering the same sentence again and again. It's finally over. Ethan Cross stood still as officers dragged Mark Halloway out of an old warehouse. Mark was shaking, crying, confessing. I did it, he sobbed. I killed them all. I couldn't stop myself. The media loved him. A broken man, a damaged mind, a clean ending. The perfect story. Within hours, the story was everywhere. A mentally unstable loner, childhood trauma, obsession with the town, a final breakdown. Every detail fit too perfectly. Dr. Lena Moore stood beside Ethan during the press briefing, her voice calm, reassuring. This case shows how untreated psychological damage can lead to extreme violence, she said. The town can finally heal. Applause followed. Ethan didn't clap. Something felt hollow. The confession file. Late that night, Ethan sat alone in his office, listening to Mark's recorded confession. The words were right. The emotions were convincing. But the pauses were wrong. Mark described crime scenes he had never seen. Motives that sounded taut, like lines memorized for a role. Ethan stopped the recording. His phone buzzed. A message. You let them give you an ending. The celebration. The town celebrated quietly. Candles, church bells, newspaper headlines. Hollow Creek killer caught. Dr. Lena visited Ethan that evening. You should rest, she said softly. You did your job. He looked at her. Forensics came back, Ethan said slowly. They found sedatives in Mark's system, heavy ones. Lena smiled gently. Trauma does strange things to the body. Her eyes never blinked. The betrayal. After she left, Ethan opened his desk drawer. Inside was the original Project Stillness file, the one that should have been destroyed. A name was circled in red. Lena Moore, lead behavioral architect. Not subject, not observer, controller. Ethan's chest tightened. The profiler, the guide, the voice of reason. She hadn't helped catch the killer. She had written the ending. The last message. At 3:07 a.m., Ethan received one final message. They needed a monster. You gave them one. Now sleep. Outside, Hollow Creek was quiet again. But this time, the quiet felt satisfied, like a lie that had been accepted. Ethan Cross didn't sleep that night. He sat in his car outside Dr. Lena Moore's house, engine off, lights dark, rain sliding slowly down the windshield like time refusing to move forward. The town believed the case was closed, but Ethan knew something worse than a killer was still breathing freely. A designer of killers. A small experiment. At 4:18 a.m., Ethan did something reckless. He sent a message from an unregistered phone. I know what you did in Project Stillness. No name, no threat, just truth. 3 minutes passed, then 5. Then his phone vibrated. If you truly knew, you'd already be dead. Ethan's jaw tightened. So she was watching. The first crack. Later that day, another body was found. Not killed. Staged. A man tied to a chair, alive but drugged, eyes wide with terror. Carved into the wall behind him were 3 words: "Control is temporary." The man survived, and that's what terrified the police. This wasn't murder, this was a message. Lena's game. Ethan arrived at the scene before the media, before anyone else noticed the detail that made his blood run cold. The sedative used on the victim was prescribed only by one person in the entire county, Dr. Lena Moore. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was challenging him. The invitation. That evening, Ethan found an envelope under his door. No stamp, no fingerprints. Inside was a single card. "Tonight, Old Stillness Facility. Come alone." Attached was a key card. The same symbol carved into the victims' bodies was etched into the plastic. The Truth Room. The facility was supposed to be demolished years ago. Inside, lights flickered weakly. Chairs were arranged in a circle. Names were carved into the walls. Some Ethan recognized, some he didn't. A voice echoed through the room. Calm, familiar. "You see, Ethan," Lena said from the shadows. "People think monsters are born." She stepped into the light. "They're not. They're trained." She smiled, not cruelly, not kindly, intellectually. "I needed to know if you were controllable. You're not." Ethan clenched his fists. "What do you want?" Lena tilted her head. "To see what you'll do when I take something from you." The lights shut off. A scream echoed from somewhere deep inside the facility. Not Lena's. Someone Ethan knew.
The scream didn't stop. It echoed through the abandoned stillness facility, bouncing off concrete walls, crawling into Ethan Cross's skull like a living thing. He ran down the dark corridor, boots splashing through water, heart hammering so loudly he could barely hear anything else. "Hello?" he shouted. No answer. Just the scream again. Weaker now. Familiar. Too familiar. The locked door. Ethan reached the end of the corridor and found a metal door chained shut. A keypad blinked red. On the wall beside it, carved carefully, almost lovingly, were 3 words. "This is your fault." Ethan's hands shook as he tried codes, dates, names, anything. Nothing worked. Behind the door, the screaming stopped. The silence that followed was worse. Morning lies. By the time police arrived, the facility was empty. No Lena, no victim, no body. Only Ethan, standing alone, confused, unarmed. The official report said nothing happened, but within hours, whispers began. The detective who refused to accept the case was closed. The detective who obsessed too deeply. The detective who went alone into an abandoned building at night. The town started asking a different question. Was Ethan Cross losing his mind? The disappearance. At noon, Ethan's phone rang. Captain Harris. "Where's Maya?" the captain asked. Ethan froze. Maya? His sister, the only family he had left. She was supposed to call him that morning. She never did. Her apartment was empty. Phone gone, wallet left behind, front door locked from the outside. No signs of struggle. Just one thing missing. Her voice recorder. A message meant only for him. Ethan returned to his office and found an envelope waiting on his desk. No one admitted to delivering it. Inside was a flash drive. He plugged it in. Maya's voice filled the room. Calm, controlled. "Ethan, if you're hearing this, it means she was right about you." Ethan's chest tightened. "I was approached weeks ago. She said you wouldn't believe me, that you'd need proof." A pause. "She said this town doesn't need heroes, it needs silence."
The town turns. By evening, the media had their headline, "Detective linked to stillness experiment?" Old photos surfaced. Ethan visiting the facility years ago. Ethan's name listed in archived psychological evaluations. Out of context. Manipulated. Perfect. People crossed the street when they saw him. Colleagues avoided eye contact. Even Captain Harris stopped returning his calls. The town didn't want truth. It wanted comfort. And Ethan was making them uncomfortable. The second recording. Another file played automatically. This time, Lena's voice. "You see, Ethan," she said softly, "you're predictable. You protect, you chase, you suffer." A quiet laugh. "I took Maya because she was your anchor." Ethan slammed his fist into the desk. "What do you want?" he whispered. Her voice answered calmly, "I want to see how long you remain good when goodness costs everything." A choice designed to break him. The screen lit up, a live video feed. Maya sat in a dim room, hands bound, breathing steady but afraid. Behind her, a digital timer began to count down. 12 hours, 00 minutes. Lena's rules appeared on the screen. 1. Do not involve the police. 2. Do not go public. 3. Follow the instructions exactly. At the bottom, save her or expose me. Ethan screamed into the empty room. This wasn't a threat. It was an experiment. Memory as a weapon. Lena sent him tasks, small ones. Revisit old crime scenes, retrieve sealed files, erase certain records. Each task unlocked a new recording. Maya talking about their childhood, their mother, the night their father disappeared. Lena hadn't just studied Ethan, she had studied his pain. The breaking point. At hour 7, Ethan collapsed in his car. He realized something horrifying. The tasks weren't random. They were undoing everything he'd built. Every truth he exposed was being buried again. Lena wasn't hiding. She was rewriting reality. The confession he never gave. At hour 9, Ethan received a pre-written confession, signed with his name, admitting guilt, admitting obsession, admitting hallucinations. All he had to do was release it to the press. Maya would be free. He stared at the screen. If he sent it, the truth would die forever. If he didn't, the final recording. The last video played automatically. Maya looked directly into the camera. Her eyes were wet, but her voice was steady. "Ethan, if you're hearing this, it means you chose truth over me." She swallowed, and that means she was wrong on one thing. A small smile. "You were never weak." The feed cut. The timer stopped. Ethan screamed into the empty room. He had lost her. Or so the story wanted him to believe, because somewhere deep inside him, a terrifying thought formed. Lena never said Maya would die. She said Ethan would think she did, and that meant the game wasn't finished. It had just entered its cruelest phase.
The timer stayed frozen at 0. No explosion, no scream, no confirmation, just silence. Ethan Cross sat on the floor, back against the wall, staring at the black screen where his sister's face had been seconds earlier. His hands were numb. His mind refused to accept anything. Grief, relief, fear, all of it tangled together into something shapeless. Lena hadn't said Maya would die. She had said Ethan would choose, and that choice had already been made. The first sign. At 4:46 a.m., Ethan's phone buzzed. One message, no sender. you passed the first real test." Ethan exhaled sharply. "Where is she?" he whispered to the empty room. Another message appeared. "Alive." His knees nearly gave out, but the relief lasted only a second, because the next line came immediately after. "For now." A city that forgot him. Morning arrived like nothing had happened. People went to work, children waited for buses, coffee shops opened. Hollow Creek had moved on. Ethan walked through the police station like a ghost. No one spoke to him. His badge access failed. His desk was gone. Captain Harris finally pulled him aside. "You're on administrative leave," the captain said, avoiding eye contact. "Off the record, disappear for a while." It wasn't advice, it was survival. The map under the floorboard. Ethan returned to his apartment for the first time in days. The place felt wrong, too clean, too untouched, as if someone had been there without leaving fingerprints. In the bedroom, he noticed the floorboard near the window slightly raised. He pried it open. Inside was a folded map of the town. Red circles marked locations, crime scenes, abandoned buildings, underground tunnels. But one place was circled again and again: the Old River Hospital, a facility shut down after Project Stillness was officially canceled. His pulse quickened. Lena hadn't hidden Maya far. She had hidden her in plain sight. The Old River Hospital stood like a corpse no one bothered to bury. Windows broken, doors chained, graffiti warning people to stay away. Ethan slipped inside through a side entrance. The smell hit him immediately. Antiseptic, mold, something metallic. The building wasn't abandoned. It was maintained just enough. Lights flickered on automatically as he walked deeper. That's when he heard it. A voice. Not screaming, talking, calm, female. Ethan followed the sound to a large ward. Inside were 6 beds. 5 were occupied. Men and women awake, staring at the ceiling, headphones over their ears. And Maya was there, alive, thin, pale, but breathing. Ethan rushed toward her. Before he could reach her, the speakers activated. Lena's voice filled the room. "Don't touch her." Ethan froze. "You see, Ethan," Lena said, "death is crude, final, inefficient." Maya turned her head slightly, eyes unfocused. "She's not being hurt," Lena continued. "She's being reprogrammed." Screens lit up on the walls. Data streamed past. Heart rates, brain waves, emotional response charts. These people volunteered. They were tired of pain, of guilt, of memory. Ethan clenched his fists. "You kidnapped them." "I liberated them," she corrected, "from themselves." She paused. Maya was special. She resisted longer than the others. Ethan's voice broke. "What are you doing to her?" Lena answered without hesitation, "Teaching her how to live without you." The cruelest truth. Ethan noticed something then. The patients weren't drugged. They were listening. Stories, voices, guided memories. Lena was rewriting their pasts, slowly, carefully. "She'll forget me," Ethan said. Lena smiled, though he couldn't see her. "No," she replied. "She'll remember a version of you that never existed." A door opened. A door at the far end of the ward unlocked. A path, an exit. "You can take her," Lena said, "right now." Ethan stepped forward. "But," she added, "she'll come with fractured memories, fear, nightmares." Ethan swallowed. "And if I don't?" "She stays and becomes peaceful." The word peaceful echoed in his skull like a threat. Maya spoke. Suddenly, Maya removed her headphones.
She looked at Ethan. Really looked. "Why are you here?" she asked softly. "You came before. You always come, and then something bad happens." Tears rolled down his face. "I'm trying to save you," he whispered. Maya tilted her head. "From what?" she asked. The choice that had no right answer. Lena's voice returned. "Heroism is selfish, Ethan. You want her to suffer, so you don't." Ethan dropped to his knees. This was worse than death. This was removal. What Ethan did next. Ethan stood up and walked away from Maya, not toward the exit, but toward the control room. The speakers went silent. For the first time, Lena hesitated. "You misunderstand. This system can't be shut down." Ethan looked into the cameras. "I'm not here to shut it down," he said. "I'm here to let everyone hear it." He reached for the broadcast switch.
The broadcast went live at exactly 11:42 a.m. No warning, no announcement. Every screen in Hollow Creek flickered at once. Phones vibrated, radios hissed, televisions cut to black, then filled with sound. Screams, whispers, confessions. Voices from Project Stillness spilled into the town like poison finally uncorked. The first reaction. People froze in place. In cafes, customers stared at walls. In offices, keyboards went untouched. Cars stopped in the middle of intersections. They heard doctors calmly describing memory deletion, officials approving ethical adjustments, patients begging to forget who they were. And underneath it all, Lena Moore's voice, clear, confident, untouched by guilt. The lie cracked. At City Hall, Mayor Collins collapsed into his chair as the screens behind him showed his own signature. Approval stamps, budget transfers, silence payments. The town's leaders had known. They had always known. Project Stillness wasn't a mistake. It was policy. Lena's countermove. Ethan watched the feeds from the control room. The system was overheating. Servers screamed. Alarms blared. Then Lena's face appeared on every screen. Not panicked, not angry, smiling. "People of Hollow Creek," she said softly, "you asked for safety. You begged for peace." Her eyes were steady. "I gave you exactly what you wanted." The psychological flip. Footage changed. Not experiments, not crimes, but ordinary people. A mother screaming at her child, a man beating his wife, a teacher abusing trust. All recorded, all archived. Before Stillness, Lena continued, this town was drowning in cruelty. Her voice lowered. "I didn't create monsters. I contained them." The screen split. Left side, untreated violence. Right side, calm, compliant citizens. "You're horrified because you forgot who you were." The crowd turns. Outside, people began to shout, not at Lena, at Ethan. Police barricades formed around the station. Signs appeared within minutes. "Bring back stillness. We were safe before you." Ethan's chest tightened. Truth wasn't freeing them. It was terrifying them. Maya wakes up. Back in the hospital ward, Maya's monitor spiked. Her eyes fluttered open. Not confused, focused. She removed the electrodes slowly, deliberately, like someone who already knew how. A nurse screamed. Maya looked at her calmly. "Don't," she said. "It won't help." Lena's real plan. Ethan's phone rang. "Lena," he answered. "You see now," she said, "why heroes never win." "You're turning them against me," Ethan said. "No," Lena replied. "I'm letting them choose." She paused. "They'll always choose comfort over truth." The town votes.
An emergency broadcast interrupted everything. Mayor Collins, sweating, shaking. "For public safety," he announced, "we are authorizing the immediate shutdown of all leaked material." Cheers erupted outside. Ethan stared at the screen in disbelief. They weren't demanding justice. They were demanding forgetting. The betrayal inside. Captain Harris entered the control room with armed officers. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. Ethan backed away. "They're reinstating the program," Harris continued, "under new management." Ethan laughed bitterly. Lena. Harris didn't deny it. "She understands this town. You never did. Maya chooses." At that moment, every screen changed again. Maya's face appeared, not drugged, not afraid, awake. "My name is Maya Cross, and I remember everything." The crowd went silent. "She tried to erase me," she continued, "but they failed." She looked straight into the camera. "Because forgetting pain doesn't heal it. It just teaches it to come back stronger." The town fractures. Some people screamed at the screens. Some cried. A few listened. Old memories surfaced. Guilt, shame, regret. The peace Lena sold them had a cost, and they were finally feeling it. Lena loses control. For the first time, Lena's voice cracked. "Turn it off," she ordered someone off screen. Maya smiled faintly. "You taught me well," she said. "Too well." The system began rejecting commands. Locks failed. Files duplicated themselves. Lena had built a perfect machine and forgotten to include mercy. Ethan acts. Ethan lunged for the final switch. Captain Harris shouted. Gunshots echoed, but Ethan didn't stop. He slammed the switch down. What followed? The town screamed. Memories flooded back. Some fainted, some collapsed, some ran. The peace Lena sold them shattered permanently.
Hollow Creek never recovered. Not after the broadcast, not after the memories returned, not after people remembered the versions of themselves they had begged to forget. The town didn't sleep anymore. It only waited. The morning after truth. Sunlight fell on broken glass and police tape. Cafes stayed closed. Schools shut down indefinitely. Church doors were locked. People sat inside their homes, staring at walls, replaying memories they didn't recognize as their own. Ethan Cross walked through the streets like a survivor of a quiet apocalypse. Every face he passed carried the same expression, confusion mixed with shame. They didn't ask questions. They avoided eye contact. Truth hadn't freed them. It had exposed them. Maya was not the same. Maya stayed close to Ethan, but she wasn't with him. She spoke calmly, moved carefully, watched people like she was studying patterns instead of faces. "You okay?" Ethan asked softly one night. Maya smiled. "I don't know how to answer that anymore," she said. She slept without nightmares. That frightened Ethan more than screaming ever could. Lena's absence. No body was found, no escape footage, no digital trace. Lena Moore had vanished as if she had never existed, but her work remained. In files, in minds, in habits people didn't realize they'd learned. Ethan knew one thing. Lena never left a story unfinished. The first copycat. 3 days later, a body was found. Not murdered, arranged. A man seated peacefully on a park bench, eyes open, hands folded, a faint smile on his face. Carved gently into the wood beside him were the words, "Stillness is kindness." Ethan closed his eyes. This wasn't Lena. This was worse. This was influence. The spread. Within hours, more scenes appeared. No blood, no violence, just people choosing silence, overdosing on sedatives, sitting motionless for hours, refusing to speak, to remember, to feel. They called it the quiet choice. Lena hadn't needed to stay. She had turned an idea loose. Maya understands first. Maya watched the news footage without emotion. "She taught them how," Maya said. Ethan looked sharply. "How what?" "How to disappear without dying." Maya turned to him. That's what stillness really was. Ethan felt cold. The message no one else saw. That night, Maya received an email. No sender, no subject, just a single line. "You're doing better than I expected." Attached was a diagram. Not a building, not a system, a mind map. Connections, triggers, emotional loops. At the center, Maya Cross. Ethan stared at it. "She planned this," he whispered. Maya nodded slowly. "She didn't want me erased. She wanted me upgraded." The truth Ethan feared. Maya had resisted the programming, not because she was stronger, but because she understood it. She could recognize manipulation, use it, redirect it. "You're thinking like her," Ethan said quietly. Maya didn't deny it. She built a language, and someone needs to speak it before others do. A dangerous gift. Maya began visiting the affected people, talking softly, listening carefully. People calmed down around her. Too easily. Ethan watched from a distance, heart racing. She wasn't curing them, she was guiding them, just like Lena had. The line crossed. One evening, Ethan confronted her. "You're controlling them," he said. Maya looked hurt. "No, I'm giving them what they ask for." "That's what Lena said." Maya's voice dropped. And she wasn't wrong about everything. The silence between them was heavier than any scream. Lena's final lesson. That night, Ethan finally understood. Lena hadn't wanted power. She wanted continuation. Someone to carry the idea forward. Someone ethical enough to justify it. Someone damaged enough to understand it. She hadn't chosen Ethan. She had chosen Maya. The question no one asked. Is it better to feel pain and break, or to be calm and empty? The town was quietly choosing the second option, and Maya was becoming the guide they trusted. The last scene. Ethan stood alone on the courthouse steps. Behind him, Hollow Creek glowed softly at night. Not chaotic, not loud. Peaceful. Too peaceful. Maya joined him. "They're asking me to stay, to help them." Ethan swallowed. "And what do you want?" Maya looked out at the town. "I don't know," she said honestly, "but I know Lena would be proud."
The town slept. For the first time in years, Hollow Creek slept without nightmares, without screams, without sirens tearing through the dark. Windows were open, lights were dim, people breathed slowly. They called it peace. Ethan Cross called it the most dangerous silence he had ever heard. The night before the end. Ethan sat at his desk, staring at a single photograph. Himself, Maya, smiling. Before Project Stillness, before Lena, before truth became something people feared. Maya stood in the doorway. She had been standing there for a long time. "I know what you're thinking," she said softly. Ethan didn't look up. "I know," he replied. The conversation that had no right words. "They're calmer now," Maya continued. "No violence, no panic, no self-destruction." Ethan finally looked at her. "And no choice," he said. Maya didn't argue. People don't want choice. They want relief. Ethan stood up slowly. "That's what Lena said." Maya nodded. "And she was right about one thing," she said. "Pain doesn't make people stronger. It just makes them loud." Silence filled the room. Not empty, heavy. Ethan took a breath. "You're becoming her." Maya flinched. "For the first time," she said, "people trust me." They trusted her too. Maya's voice dropped. "And you destroyed that trust." Ethan felt the words like a knife. The final truth. Maya stepped closer. "I remember everything now," she said. "The fear, the control, the manipulation." She looked him in the eyes. "And I still choose this." That was when Ethan understood. This wasn't brainwashing. This was belief. The last offer. Maya placed a small device on the table. "One switch," she said. "If you press it, the system collapses." Ethan stared at it.
And then what? Chaos, Maya replied calmly. Pain, anger, violence, everything comes back. And if I don't? Maya answered honestly. The town stays calm, quiet, functional. Ethan's hands trembled. This wasn't good versus evil. This was truth versus comfort. A memory that changed everything. Ethan remembered their father. A good man, a broken one. He remembered the night his father chose silence instead of asking for help. He never came back. Ethan looked at Maya. You're not saving them. You're just teaching them how to disappear. Maya's eyes filled with tears. And what if that's what they want? The choice. The device blinked softly, waiting. Ethan closed his eyes. For a moment, he imagined Hollow Creek loud again, messy, angry, alive. Then he imagined it like this, quiet, orderly, empty. He opened his eyes and made his choice. What Ethan did. Ethan picked up the device and did not press it. Instead, he crushed it in his hand. Sparks flew. The system didn't shut down. It didn't collapse. It simply froze, paused, neither alive nor dead. The aftermath. The town didn't scream, didn't celebrate, didn't notice. People woke up the next morning, still calm, but something was different. They could feel again, just a little. Enough to question, enough to doubt, enough to remember. Maya's goodbye. Maya watched the sunrise from the bridge. Ethan stood beside her. You broke it, she said quietly. No, Ethan replied. I slowed it down. She smiled sadly. That's worse, for both sides. Maya stepped back. They won't need me anymore. And someday, they won't forgive you. Ethan didn't stop her. He knew better. The disappearance. Maya Cross walked away. No note, no message, no trace. Not hunted, not remembered, just gone. The town years later. Hollow Creek never spoke about Project Stillness again. Officially, it never existed. But sometimes, people would wake up at night with tears in their eyes, not knowing why. Sometimes, they would feel guilt without memory. Sometimes, they would almost remember a woman who taught them how to forget. Ethan's last case. Ethan resigned. He stayed in town, walking the same streets, watching people choose, fail, love, suffer, live. He never chased another monster because he learned the truth too late. The most dangerous crimes are the ones people beg you to commit for them. The final line. Years later, Ethan received a postcard. No address, just 4 words written neatly. Stillness was never peace. He smiled, not because he won, but because someone remembered.